Why do some women ignore violence against women by migrant men? Many women in Western nations, particularly older women, dismiss concerns about migrant-related violence against local women. They claim that it's overblown or even fabricated or exaggerated by right-wing media. As an example, in Germany there is a group of older women called Grandmas Against the Right. These women oppose right-wing politicians who speak up for women's rights to safety from migrant men. I initially thought that this group was a hoax, some sort of joke, because it just seems so absurd to me that these women would gather together and speak out against the rights of women to safety and instead support the migrant male perpetrators of crime. But this group is actually real. These grandmas against the right really do exist in Germany. I don't live in Germany, but when I first visited 25 years ago, I found it to be a clean and very safe nation. It was safe for women. I felt safe when I was in Germany 25 years ago. However, Germany is a nation that went from being an incredibly safe place for women and families to being a dangerous place for women in only 10 years. So it's an excellent example of how rapidly government policies can cause the decline of a nation. So what causes women to dismiss those who want to protect women and girls from violent men? For a start, these older women tend to be removed from environments where harassment and attacks occur. They argue it hasn't happened to me, or I've never seen it, as if personal experience is the only valid evidence and that crime statistics are meaningless. This kind of thinking is not only short-sighted, but it's an example of the anecdotal fallacy. The anecdotal fallacy occurs when someone uses their own limited experience to reject statistical or documented evidence, such as, for example, police crime statistics. Older women who feel safe in their own nice homes in safe, luxurious neighbourhoods, they may feel that their safety is proof that younger women must also be safe and feel safe. This is despite the media reports, police data, and testimonies of victims on the news that suggest otherwise. By relying on personal experience over objective facts, they inadvertently deny the reality that other women and girls are facing. It's a little bit like me saying I haven't died yet, and therefore death doesn't exist because it hasn't happened to me or my family members. Statistics about death are therefore fabricated or exaggerated by the right-wing media. Those who have died are clearly just faking their own deaths to frighten others into believing that death really exists. This is the logic that these older women apply when they discuss migrant assaults against local women. The topic of sexual assault is a deeply personal and private issue. It's a traumatizing experience for victims that they generally don't want to share with everyone that they know, and especially not with strangers that they've just met on the street. So most will suffer in silence and they'll only tell their close friends and family. So very few victims will share this information with co-workers and the general public, and so naturally it may seem like there are fewer victims than there are because victims are not widely discussing their assault with everybody that they meet. But just because victims are not sharing their trauma with you doesn't mean that sexual assaults are not occurring on a daily basis. This refusal to acknowledge the problem of migrant violence against women creates a moral gap. Older women, many of whom were once feminists fighting for women's rights, now turn a blind eye to the younger generation of women who are facing different threats from these migrant men. Instead of standing in solidarity with women, these older ladies rationalize their inaction by saying things like, young women are exaggerating, or this is just scare tactics and panic stirred up by right-wing politicians who are spreading fake news about innocent migrants. What's even worse is when these older women make false claims such as that migrants are more likely to be assaulted by locals than the other way around, and this strongly contradicts actual crime data. This dismissal of the experiences of assaulted girls is not just intellectual laziness on the part of left-wing women, it's also a betrayal of the principles of feminism. Feminism was supposed to centre around listening to women's concerns and protecting vulnerable women from male perpetrators. Protecting women and girls used to be a core value of the political left, so you would think that the left would be leading efforts to address migrant-related violence against local women, but this is not the case. So why is it that right-wing politicians are now raising this issue when women's safety and rights are meant to be a fundamental left-wing priority? I used to be a left-wing supporter, and I was friends with a leftist woman who was overweight and unhealthy. She was boasting one time to a group of our friends about how men don't sexually harass and assault her when she goes out, and therefore she didn't believe or have sympathy for girls who were harassed and assaulted. She thought that these girls were bringing this upon themselves because, after all, from her experience, she doesn't face this issue herself, so it can't be happening to other women unless they're asking for it. So afterwards I was discussing this with a male friend in our group, and he said that he felt her argument was illogical because she's not attractive and very few men pay attention to her. His take was that even perverts have preferences and they target women that they're attracted to. So women like my overweight friend, they sometimes harbour a bitterness and a frustration because they're invisible to men, but they frame this as a positive and they act as if they're superior to more attractive girls who are harassed by men. And this bitterness is what causes these left-wing women to resent both men and attractive women. Older women are in the same boat as my overweight friend. These older women are far less likely to be sexually harassed by migrant men, but that doesn't mean that these same men are not harassing other women, younger women and attractive girls. Older women are often more financially stable than younger women, having had time to build up savings and accumulate assets over time. As a result, many older women live in the safe middle-class suburbs where violent crime is far less likely to occur, and it's therefore less visible to them. In contrast, younger women, especially if they are students, single mothers, or women with low-wage jobs, they are more likely to live in low-cost, affordable areas which have higher rates of social tension, crime, and a much larger population of migrants and recently settled migrant men, such as the refugees in Germany. This geographic divide creates a disconnect in perception because older women genuinely may not witness the harassment and assaults and aggression, and they don't witness the lack of safety that younger women are experiencing. Rather than acknowledging their different realities and different daily experiences, many of these older women dismiss the concerns as exaggerated or politically motivated, unaware that their own privilege living in wealthier neighbourhoods shields them from the daily reality that many younger women actually face. When confronted with evidence about migrant men attacking women, these older women often attempt to shut down the argument by countering that white men assault women too. Watch this example, this video here where an older woman in Germany blames local men. The context here is that in Europe, migrant men have been assaulting women and young girls in swimming pools. This is a problem in Germany. So in Switzerland, a town in Switzerland decided to ban foreigners entirely to keep local girls safe. And the interviewer here is asking for people's opinions in Germany on whether this foreigner ban in this Swiss town should also be applied in Germany to keep girls safe.
Warum die Schweiz gesagt hat, sie lassen jetzt nur noch Einheimische ins Freibad. Können Sie sich denken, warum das so ist?
Ach so, ich habe den Artikel gelesen, deswegen weiß ich, warum. Also die Argumentation kenne ich, aber ich halte die für falsch.
Was macht man sonst? Weil die Probleme sind ja real, die Belästigungen sind eben da. Was könnte man alternativ für eine Lösung finden, damit sowas nicht mehr so häufig passiert?
Also Belästigung gibt es sicher, die gab es auch schon, als ich jung war. Aber ich glaube, dass viele Sachen auch hochgespielt werden. Und viele Sachen müssten einfach von der Sicherheit, die es ja hier zuhauf gibt und auch von den Bademeistern und Rettungsschwimmern einfach angesprochen werden. Ich bin als Heranwachsende und auch als junge Frau selber sehr oft sexuell belästigt worden. Allerdings nicht unbedingt im Schwimmbad, und auch nicht unbedingt von neu Zugewanderten, sondern von guten mittelalten deutschen Männern. Das Phänomen ist nicht neu und ich weiß auch, dass ich mich damals sehr schwer getan habe, darauf zu reagieren oder die Schuld bei mir gesucht habe oder mich geschämt habe.
The older lady says that it's wrong to ban foreign men. She says that the claims that young girls are sexually assaulted by migrant men in pools in Germany are exaggerated, and then she proceeds to say that sexual assaults occurred in Germany when she was a girl, and she blames older German men for this. But this is a rhetorical sleight of hand because it's a diversion that avoids addressing the specific problem at hand, which is that Germany is now plagued by sexual assaults on girls. No one disputes that white men commit violence against women. After all, this is one of the reasons why Western nations have police officers and prisons. Crime existed in Western nations long before refugees arrived, and so those on the right, they do not dispute this. But the reason these older women mainly experienced harassment from white men when they were young was because back in those days, fewer foreign-born men lived in Europe. So she's referring to a time 40 to 50 years ago, but this is like comparing apples with oranges. We're focusing on the here and now, not what happened half a century ago. To find solutions to today's problems, we need to focus on the present time and examine the facts now. Old white men back in her day did harass young women, and it was a major issue at the time. But I rarely see young white men under the age of 40 behaving that way these days. Young men feel ashamed of the way old white men behaved back then, and they're more likely to defend girls rather than join in with the harassment these days. Yet these older women still blame all white men and lump these younger white men into the same category. It's unfair that young white men are tarred by the same brush, despite overwhelmingly condemning the harassment of girls. These older ladies, they still cling on to this bitterness caused by being harassed by older white men when they were young, and they refuse to let go of this idea that the perpetrators are white males, even though statistics now show that migrant men are the main problem these days. The old adage, "you can't teach an old dog new tricks," applies here, as these older women refuse to acknowledge recent statistics or accept that the world has changed.
Darüber gesprochen wird, dass die Mädchen auch darauf hingewiesen werden, dass sie sich wehren können und dürfen. Das war damals nicht so. Da war das eher so, dass man da nicht so drüber spricht, über Sexualität und so weiter. Das war vielleicht eher auch eine andere Zeit, aber wichtig ist, aus sich rauszugehen, laut zu werden.
In the video, she does say that it's good that young women can talk about sexual assault more freely now, although I'm not sure that I do actually agree with her on this. Women and girls are silenced and labelled as racist by leftists if they speak up about assaults perpetrated by migrant men, so I disagree that victims can speak out freely now. Leftists ensure that female victims are silenced, as migrant assaults on local women jeopardise the left narrative. Statistics clearly show that migrant men are disproportionately represented in assault and harassment cases against women and underage girls, particularly in countries like Germany and Sweden, where they've taken in large numbers of refugees. By focusing on the universal rather than the specific, these women are sidestepping the uncomfortable truth and diluting the urgency of addressing particular patterns of violence. This rhetorical sidestep doesn't protect women. It only protects the comfort of those who don't want to confront an inconvenient reality. Ultimately, ignoring violence because it hasn't happened to you is not a neutral stance. It's a cowardly stance. You're not a nice guy or a nice girl for turning a blind eye to migrant violence against local women. This is a failure of empathy, critical thinking, and solidarity with women. This stance allows the problem to continue unchecked. If you're a person who says it's racist to talk about migrant male violence against local women, then you're a major part of the problem because you're silencing the victims.